The Hobbs and Shaw spin-off film was a great success for the franchise. With that, a sequel with these two action stars seems like a no-brainer. Today, we talk about what that sequel could actually look like. The announcement of the sequel being in development wasn't much of a shock to people, considering how well the first one did. Teaming up Hobbs and Shaw has been something the Fast franchise has been building up to for years. Jason Statham and The Rock are both assumed to be returning for the sequel, seeing as their character names are in the title. We can also see the return of Vanessa Kirby's Hattie after she shows herself to be incredibly capable in the first film. There were also a couple of cameos that could be fun inclusions to the series, like Kevin Hart and Ryan Reynolds. Having them join Hobbs and Shaw could continue the team dynamic after the core Fast and Furious franchise ends. We also can't forget about the always amazing Helen Mirren returning as Shaw's mother. Mirren seems more than happy to make her cameo appearances in these films, almost as delighted as we are to see her. The first film pushed the franchise in a different direction than the previous Fast and Furious installments. While the franchise was no stranger to unrealistic plots and characters, including a super soldier type villain set this film apart from the rest. This was likely done to make it feasible that these two men, who barely get a scratch on them in any fight, have to team up. For a sequel, it would be hard to see them going backward in this regard. But what exactly does that mean? It could be as simple as just more super soldiers to fight, cause bigger always equals better, right? Seeing as these films are going more for a super spy plot, it could be interesting to see these characters on the run, perhaps from an evil government takeover. This could allow them to maintain the buddy cop feel they base the entire franchise on, raising the stakes and giving the characters more to overcome. Writers could maybe even throw in a techno henchman or a supercomputer to keep things from getting too real.
What's it to be? Join the evolution of man, or die of the weak.
There is another direction this film's villain could go, as we saw from Jason Momoa's character Dante Reyes. His portrayal was much more lively than previous Fast villains. Going further in that direction could be the way to go. Having a more maniacal villain, one that is truly psychotic and not merely doing it for money or revenge, could be a great way for them to explain why one would want to inflict evil on the world. This would put a new spin on the franchise and give Hobbs and Shaw a new type of evil to fight. Dwayne Johnson himself would also somewhat confirm this in a recent Instagram interview with Collider, where he said, "Not characters that Hobbs can just kick the shit out of, because that's boring, but characters I think that you guys are gonna fall in love with. Villains, anti-heroes, and heroes all across the board." It seems even he knows that each film can't just be about him kicking the crap out of everyone. It's just not that exciting anymore after everything we have seen in the Fast and Furious franchise over the past 20+ years. Hiram Garcia, one of Dwayne Johnson's partners at $7 Productions, confirmed that the script for Hobbs and Shaw 2 is currently being written by Chris Morgan. Morgan, who also wrote the first film and read one, is still in the process of crafting the story. That is the only news we have heard about the story for the film. This is where we at ScreenRant come in to piece together what the story could be. It is safe to assume this film will be set after the events of Fast X Part 2, so the core team will most likely be disbanded. This leaves Hobbs and Shaw alone to face whatever new threat comes. After Fast X Part 2, Hobbs tries to do it all himself again, insisting he doesn't need any help. This is all flipped around when a new type of threat enters the scene. Unlike any other person they've ever faced, there doesn't seem to be a point to his violence. He's robbing banks only to throw the money away, and he's blowing up buildings with seemingly no purpose. This goes against everything that Hobbs is. The lawman can't find the pattern, and because of this, he gets ambushed and beaten. To make matters worse, this unknowable villain crosses yet another line and kidnaps Hobbs' daughter, Sam. He must turn to someone from his past to save his daughter, with no other options. This is when Shaw enters the scene. His years of criminal activity make him a valuable asset in understanding this new threat's motives. The two then work together to figure out where Sam is and what the next target will be. This would also reverse the roles, as Hobbs would be laser focused on getting his daughter back, while Shaw would try to stop whatever the next attack is. This character swap would create the main conflict in the film, making it a classic philosophical trolley problem. Is the life of one loved one worth more than 1,000 lives you don't know? This could culminate in Hobbs and Shaw being separated in the end by the villain, telling them that Sam is in one location while the bomb that threatens the city is in another. Hobbs springs into action, but unfortunately for him, he is given the wrong location and finds himself in front of the bomb while Shaw is accidentally tasked with saving Sam. Luckily, through the trust these two have built up throughout the film, both characters believe they can finish their missions and save the day. The film ends with the beatdown of all beatdowns, with Hobbs finally facing off against the man who took his daughter, and it's safe to assume it wouldn't end well for that guy. This would also leave Hobbs in a very different situation. Never has his family been so close to danger. This could prompt Hobbs to retire from the saving the world business and choose to spend his time with his family. Or maybe he doesn't retire, but takes a more leadership style role, building his team so he doesn't have to do this alone. Because if there's anything Hobbs would have learned from Dom, it's all about family. Just to reiterate, the ideas for this story are pure speculation. However, they are based on past films and what Dwayne Johnson has said about how Hobbs' story will end. Johnson has said in interviews that Hobbs' story might be ending sooner rather than later. A film about getting his daughter back from a psychopath would be a logical way to get the lawman to retire for good. There have also been talks about the next spin-off being a Hobbs solo movie. Johnson has been said to have pitched the quintessential Hobbs movie. If that is true, making this story more Hobbs focused would be a good way of maintaining that while also including Shaw in more of a supporting role. This also leaves room for more characters to appear, perhaps Kevin Hart or Vanessa Kirby. Most importantly, this heavier tone would give this series a much grittier tone, which The Rock has been trying to do with many of his films. Having the characters go through personal stakes would ground the movie in a way many of The Rock's blockbusters have failed to do. Making this film, it seems he is looking for the riding off in the sun finale. The Fast and Furious franchise has been a blockbuster staple for over 20 years now. With the last film in the mainline franchise coming soon, could there be more expected spin-offs? Hobbs and Shaw was the first to try this. However, its success definitely turned heads. The question could be asked if the film succeeded because of the Fast and Furious banner, or if it was the pairing of two of the biggest action stars of our time. Making these spin-offs feel like their own thing could be a fantastic asset, giving fans something new, which will be very much necessary after 11 mainline Fast and Furious films. All of that being said, the future of this franchise and all spin-offs seems to be waiting for this epic finale to release. With no confirmed date or even script, there will be plenty of time to wait before we can expect this spin-off to release. In the meantime, the final Fast and Furious film is set to release in March of 2026. That film marks Hobbs' return to the mainline films as he helps in the battle with Reyes. What do you think Hobbs and Shaw 2 will be about? Would you be interested in seeing our idea of the story? Let us know in the comments down below. From all of us here at ScreenRant, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.